Hi everyone, I'll be starting shortly. Can you let me know if you can hear me in the comments and if it's clear, please? I'm hoping you can hear. Hey buddy, how's it going? Can you hear everything, Fraser? Okay, fantastic. Right, I will get started then. So I'm just going to do a little talk about myself first, show you what I've got for the tank. I'll talk about the plants and then we'll start planting. So first of all, I'm James Bassett. I call myself the Nature Scaper on my Facebook and my Instagram. So you can follow me there if you want to. I basically try and upload pictures and little videos every day. Then on top of that, about my aquascaping journey, I actually only started, excuse me just one second, sorry about that. I literally started my aquascaping journey in June of 2020 during lockdown. I'd wanted to do it for years, but the reason I didn't really was because I was in the Air Force and I was always traveling all over the place and I never had the roots to be able to have that foundation to get it started. So I started in June. I joined the Planted Tank Keeping UK, knowing nothing really. I set a tank up about 5 years ago for my mother-in-law. Got some awful advice from the local fish store that we got everything from, and everything was dead within about 2 months. So this time I wanted to make sure I did it properly, so I joined the Planted Tank Keeping UK and the Tropical Fish Keeping UK. I got loads of advice from people about how to cycle the tank correctly, and I started off with a very, very basic setup with some awful ornaments and some just 2 or 3 plants. And the tank you can see behind me is what I've ended up with. It actually had a lot more plants than that, but I've actually pulled most of those plants out to go into this tank. There's tons of crypts on the bottom which have all come out and they're going to be going in here. I got this tank, so this is a Juwel Rio 125 which I got from Facebook Marketplace for I think about £30, so I was really pleased with that. It's an older model, but it's done really well. I started off with an internal Eheim filter and then I moved to an all pond solution 1000 EF I think it is, and it's done really well. It's got no CO2, it's very low tech, it's got some nitro lights in the top and an Eheim heater, but it's done really well. I use TNC Complete in there daily and I do an 80% water change once a week and clean it as well as I can. I made some mistakes. There's gravel in there on top of some of the soil which looks terrible. The sand, I chose white sand, which is stupid, and I'm kind of evolving from that now. Don't get me wrong, I love this tank, but I'm evolving now and I'm moving over to this one, which is a Rio 240, which again I got from Facebook Marketplace for £40, believe it or not, and it's in really good condition. I did the Scape a couple of weeks ago now, with lots of advice from you guys, and I took my time and I kept checking it each day, making little tiny alterations, and I really like it. I like the way it feels, I like the flow in it. I think I've got enough in there. I think with the other tank there wasn't enough in there, and I think I've definitely got enough in there this time. I've got Cereal Stone all down the front and around the sides. I've got some Unipack sand with some Hugo Comici gravel and some chippings of Cereal Stone as finer details. The soil substrate I've gone for is the Denelay Scaper soil, which I've not used before. The only soil I've used in the other tanks I've done since June have been Tropica, but this was on a fantastic offer on Black Friday, so I grabbed 3 bags of that. I've got some Hugo Commissi and Manzanita, gnarled Manzanita wood. The gnarled Manzanita wood is from Aquarium Gardens, and the Hugo Commissi is from my local fish store. Then lights, I've got the Fluval Plant 3.0 at the top. Then I'll just grab the camera for a second and I'll just take you on a little wander down here. So on one side I've got an Eheim 2224, I think it is. I've replaced the original horrible green pipes with a more neutral colour pipe set, and I also replaced the inlet and outlet to the Eheim installation pack 1 and 2, which look far better than the nasty green ones that came with it. There's a 2 kilogram CO2 bottle with a CO2 Pro SE series regulator, I believe it is. Then on the other side I've got a brand new Awase Biomaster 350 Thermo, which has got the CO2R inline diffuser fitted. So that is basically the kit. I'll be using TNC Complete again until it runs out, because I've got quite a lot of it. There we go, sorry about that. But once that runs out, I'm going to be switching over to EI Ferts, and I'll be getting an auto doser pump to get those going in an hour before the lights come on. Right, so moving on to the plants, I have got going in today, we've got Rotala rotundifolia, and I've got, I think there were 8 plants that arrived from it. I was meant to get the ones who grow, but they didn't have any, so I had to get 8 actual full plants, which I've divided up as best I could. I've got, now excuse my pronunciation here, Myrophyllum Guyana. I've got 6 pots of that, which are divided up, and that looks like it's going to be a real pain in the bum to plant, so I'm not looking forward to that. I've got 2 big pieces of trident fern, which at the moment, I'll show you, is actually attached to wood. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it on the wood. I don't know if you can see that all right. Or actually remove it from the wood and just place it in between my wood. When I ordered from my plants from Aquarium Gardens, as most of you know at the moment, there's huge problems getting plants because of Brexit and the new deals and the passports for the plants coming in. So we had to kind of make a few adjustments. I did want Rotala Vietnam HRA, which I couldn't get, but I've actually got some arriving tomorrow along with a few other bits and pieces. I've got some Anubias and some other epiphyte plants as well, which I will add tomorrow and then do an update video. But they were due to arrive today, but unfortunately they've been delayed 24 hours. I have got some Bulbitis Hoydelotti, I believe that's how it's pronounced. I've got some Monte Carlo, just to do some fine detail on some of the rocks. Nothing too crazy, I don't want too much, but just a little bit here and there, and especially along the edges of the pathway. I'm hoping that'll look nice. I've got some floating plant, which is, where's it gone? Here it is. Limnobium. I know there's another name for it. If someone can say that in the chat, I can't remember what it's called, but if someone could add that in the chat for everyone else, that'd be fantastic. And that's really just for the initial setup. I probably won't keep it in there the whole time. I'll just probably keep it in there for that initial sort of 2-week setup phase. So the plan is I'm going to be planting today, and if some more plants will go in tomorrow. I'll get water in the tank after that, and then I'm going to be doing a daily water change every day for 7 days. And then after that I'll do a water change every other day, and then at the end of that 2-week period, then I will get the fish and the media from this filter moved over to this tank, and hopefully the plants will be established enough that it won't cause any huge problems. So okay, where are we? Yeah, anything I do after today I'll be posting updates videos of. I'm also going to post an edited version of this video, so that if people don't have time to sit there for an hour and a half or however long it takes, they can watch a slightly more compressed version of what we're doing. If anyone's got any questions, if they've got any suggestions, please put them in the comments, and then I can keep an eye on what you're saying, and if I know the answer I'll answer, and if I don't know the answer, hopefully one of you guys in there will know. I class myself as pretty new to the hobby. As I said, I only started 6 months ago. I would say though I've done an awful lot of research, probably more than most people would, because you know, a bit obsessive by it. It's a hobby I've really fallen in love with, and I really want to do well. I want my family to be able to sit down in the living room and really enjoy this tank. You know, we've enjoyed this one, but I think with the bigger aspect of this one, we're going to be able to enjoy it that much more. But you get the added bonus of hopefully you guys enjoy my tank like we do as well. I think if I had to describe myself, I would say I'm a slightly less attractive, slightly more overweight, with not quite such big arms and nowhere near as much talenting skill as George Farmer. That's kind of where I am. But I will say that I've got a much more sturdy colander than he's got. So, you know, there you go, George. Inspiration wise, people like George, who I've just mentioned, fantastic. Not only is his content really helpful and has given me loads of ideas, he takes the time to answer when I've asked him questions. You know, he's given me feedback on the Scape. When I've PM'd him in the past, he's got back to me, which is, I think, really kind considering how busy he is. I really like following the George Escaper, who again I think is great. MD Fish Tanks as well. And then a bit closer to home with you guys on Planted Tank Keeping UK. People like Chris Stevens, Tom Ackrill, Charlie. There's so many people. Gary Parsons have given me incredible advice as I've been going through, and patient advice as well, because I'm sure I've probably come back 4 or 5 times with the same question. And they've re-answered it for me because I've asked so many questions I've forgotten the first time round. But I appreciate the humour, I appreciate all the answers, and I've really taken in what you've said as well. And I think I've got to the point now where, as I said in a post yesterday, I'm not an expert at aquascaping and aquatic plants, but I do understand them now, and I understand what needs to go where and how to keep them alive. This is going to be the first time I've used CO2, so that's going to be a bit of a journey, and I'm sure I'm going to be getting lots of advice from you guys. I'll be posting later on tonight to ask some advice about how I should set the lights up. From what I've read, I think I'll be running them at 50% for the first couple of weeks, and then hopefully slowly ramping them up, and then CO2 on for an hour before, and then I think it's an hour after the lights go off, I'll be turning the CO2 off with a timed plug I've got. But apart from that, the only thing left to set up after all that, once the water's in, is the drop checker kit for the CO2. Everything else is in there now. So with that said, I think I'll start planting. I'm going to start at the back, and I've got the Guyana and the rotundifolia here. I'm going to have the Guyana in this corner area moving round, and similar on this side, and then kind of blending into that, I'm going to have the Rotala rotundifolia, and I'm going to be leaving some space to the sides of the path for the Rotala H-roll, which will be arriving tomorrow, and I'll be popping that in there. And then I will move on to the crypts, of which I've got tons of crypts. Some of these are from my tank, and some had a little bit of algae on them, so I've basically just ripped them off, so I've just got the rootstock, and hopefully they'll grow back. But all of these ones are new ones. So we've got Cryptocoryne bullosa, I've got 2 of those. I've got Cryptocoryne Wenditii brown, I've got Cryptocoryne, I'm not sure if it's Valkyrie or Valkyrie, I've got Cryptocoryne Moramani, and the ones that came from my tank, I couldn't tell you what they are. I've also got, and I'm not sure if this is a crypt or not, but if someone can help out, that'd be fantastic. I've got this plant, which has been grown quite nicely just in the shade of my wood, but I don't know what it's called, but it's lovely. So that's going in. I think I've got 2 of those as well. And then after that, I've got the epiphyte plants, which was the Barbitus and the Trident Fern. So I will start with this now. I'll grab my tools. I've got a beautiful new tool kit which I won from Armin Aquatics, and this, honestly, this thing weighs a ton, and you can use it for a board underneath, and they're really nice quality tools as well. So I'm really grateful to Matt from Armin Aquatics, who runs with his brother, I think, that company, for bringing those round for me a few days ago, just in time for the planting. So I've got absolutely tons of this Rotala, so it's going to take a while, so I'm just going to carry on. I will talk as much as I can. I'm probably going to do a couple of bits together because there's so much of it, and then just leave maybe an inch between them. I'm guessing I'm probably going to have quite a lot of plants left over after this. Oh, these tongs are nice. Oh, crikey. I'll show you the tongs I did have. These were the tongs I was using, and they were the cheapest kit I could buy on Amazon when I first started. I think the whole kit was $8.99, and it is appalling. So using some quality tweezers and the pruning tools for once I get going is going to make a big difference, I think. But I'm going to get cracking with this now. Start getting this planted in. I just realised I put that first bit in completely the wrong place because I said I was going to put the guano there. But that's probably because I'm talking to you guys and not paying attention. So I'm just planting it about an inch apart. If anyone thinks I'm doing anything wrong, or if they've got any suggestions for where they think I should put things, I'm happy to listen to anything like that. I'm trying to get it nice and deep. So these are all these plants have come from Aquarium Gardens, and Dave and I think Stephen was the other chap I spoke to, have been absolutely fantastic helping me get these ready in time, because as I said, there have been so many problems with deliveries from Tropica and the other companies since we officially left Europe. Cool, this is difficult with all this hardscape, I'll tell you. So yeah, I'm very grateful to them, and the plants arrived in really good condition as well. It didn't take anywhere near as long as I thought it would to actually prepare them, but it's probably going to take a lot longer than I thought to plant them. So just for information as well, underneath the generate soil, I've also got 10 bags of alpha grog in media bags, just to help me build up the height without having to use an absolutely ludicrous amount of aquascaping soil, which was suggested to me by guys on the forum on Planted Tank Keeping UK. So that's been a fantastic suggestion, and also because of the type of material it is, it's not going to have anaerobic build up inside it. It's going to let the water flow through it and hopefully harbour some beneficial bacteria as well. So we're getting on quite well with this Rotala. Hi Delith. Yeah, I'm leaving about an inch between each couple of little plantlets that I'm putting in, and I'm trying to go in a sort of good 2 inches if I can. So that's great. Yeah, I'm hoping I won't get too much flow. So I'm going to fill it really, really slowly. I'm just going to put my special Better Than George Farmer colander with a plate underneath it down here, and just fill it super slowly the first time. And the reason I'm not putting the fish in for the first 2 weeks is because exactly that reason. I don't want the fish to disturb all these new plants and just rip them up, especially the pandacories and the pleco. My pleco is quite young, so he's not huge, but even so, he does like to root around quite a lot. But yeah, I'm glad I got the rotundifolia. It's a shame I couldn't get the HRI on time, but as I said, I've got, I think it's 30 stems of it arriving tomorrow, along with some other bits and bobs. So that should be nice. There we go, these are going in nicely. What I do once I've finished planting the back, I'll bring the camera over and show you what it looks like, and then you can tell me if I've done an absolutely appalling job. On the suggestion from Delith, Delith is another person who's been fantastic with giving me advice, especially when it's come to what plants I should choose and what plants go where. From the first Scape I did through to this one, she's been constantly offering advice for me, and in a non-judgmental way, in a very friendly way, which is one of the reasons I like the group so much. You can appreciate how people like George and MD Fish Tanks, what they do look so easy, but talking when no one's talking back and trying to do this at the same time, it's trickier than I thought it would be. But luckily I'm quite good at talking, so hopefully I'll get away with it. Okay, so this is going to be really awkward down here because I probably put the hardscape a little bit too close to the glass really, but I really liked how it was and I didn't want to fiddle with it too much. Okay, I've got that in there nicely. I'm quite near the back of the glass here. I've left as about an inch, maybe just less than an inch at the closest point between the wood and the glass, but I'm going to get one of the razor scrapers for the glass, and hopefully that will help as well. So I'm not sure how much more of this I'm going to use. I've got a bit more to go in, I think. Just try and level it out a bit, and then I'll move on to the Guyana in more of the corner areas. There's a nice little plant here. So if anyone has used the Guyana before, I've never seen it in a 1-2 grow, and it's kind of daunting to look at, to be honest with you. That's up here, sorry. So I'm guessing I can just kind of plant these little plugs in halfway, almost like I would hair grass, and they're going to grow up, because there's no real root system, because the plants are so tiny. I mean, they're really beautiful. They kind of look like mini palm trees. I doubt you can see from where you are. But I've split it up into these little portions, and I'm hoping that's going to be okay. But if you think that is completely wrong, I would love to know, so that I can make the right move. I'm going to put a few more of these bits in. I've left some space for the HR, a bigger area there and a smaller area here. Just a couple more bits of this Rotala rotundifolia. They're going in at the back. There we go. I really do not think I'd actually be able to plant this with my old tongs are that bad. These new tongs have got a really nice grip on them, and that's really helping. So I have to get in between the wood here, so that's not ideal, but that's going in the right there. Good. Okay. I've got the other thing I've got is TNC root capsules dotted around under the soil as well. I've never used those before, and I think I probably missed them a bit in this tank, but I put some in this time, which hopefully is going to help with that growth. Just having a quick look. Maybe get one more bit in there, and then I'll move on. Thanks, David. No problem. Yeah, you can either watch the edited version or the full version. Depends how much you get irritated by my voice. I know what my wife would say to that. I'm sure she will not be watching the full version. Okay, so I'm not going to put any more Rotala rotundifolia in for now. I've got this little group left, which is probably about a pot and a half's worth. So I'll have a look right at the end and see if I think it needs any more. And I'll show you guys what I've planted, bearing in mind I've left space for HR in there as well. And I'm going to move on to the Guyana. So the smaller fish tank here, let me see who that's asking the question, sorry. Okay. Any plans for the smaller tanks once you finish this one? Okay, so moving forward, Delith, my plans are this tank here, once lockdown's finished, is actually going to my parents' house, and I'm going to do a completely new scape for them with my mum, and I'm going to get her to do a bit of research before we start, because I want her to do the scape as much as me. What I don't want to do, as much as I'd be happy to, is just do a scape for her and leave it to it. I want her to have that satisfaction of what I've had, of starting a scape herself and loving it and watching it grow and being able to say to people and herself, I did that. So, God, this is a nightmare. There we go. So yeah, so this tank with all the equipment from it is going to go to my mum. Obviously, it probably won't be for a little while if we're being realistic because of how things are in the world, but it's just going to go in my shed until then. I'm going to be scaping fairly soon a new 18 litre Amtra Nano Cube, which is going to be going to my son's school. My son's autistic, and he goes to a special school in Hindhead in Surrey, which is called Stepping Stones. And I recently won the tank with everything you need to get it set up. And I asked the headmistress and my son's teacher if it's something that they would like. and they love the idea. So I'm going to be setting up a little scape with just some cherry shrimp in there, and then I can maintain that for them if they need me to, or they can just maintain it weekly, and then I'll pop in, you know, maybe once a month and just check the plants, see if they need anything doing to them. I'm going to keep it extremely low tech. Java ferns, trident ferns, that kind of thing, some really easy growing stems, 53B, that kind of stuff. Then my next project after that, if everything goes to plan, is actually going to be a puffer tank. My wife loves pufferfish, and she wants a puffer tank up in the bedroom. I'm going to be speaking to Matt Amon from Amon Aquatics about potentially doing a custom built acrylic tank, which I think will look really nice. It's going to be a long-term project. It's probably going to be towards the second half of the year to get it perfect. I might start off with a cheaper tank to get everything up and running and going, and then once I've got the funds and Matt's got the time, I'll get the acrylic tank done. And the other thing I've got, which I didn't show you, so I got this lid custom made by a local plastics company just a week or so ago. And it's made of acrylic. It's about 6 mil thick, I think. It looks fantastic. I'm a bit concerned that I might get some warping with the heat from the light. I'm going to flip it every week, but if it does, I'm going to get the same again made, but with polycarbonate, because I've been told that won't warp. So that's how I'm working the lid, but it looks so much better than the stock lid that came with the dual tank, which is disgusting. Delith, yeah, I think pea puffers, I mean, I'm still really learning about puffers and which ones are going to be sensible to keep. I know some of them, you know, there's some ridiculous requirements for some of them with brackish water and having to clip their teeth and all sorts of stuff. So I think probably pea puffers, and someone's mentioned to me figure 8 puffers. So I'm probably thinking somewhere around maybe similar sort of size tank to this one, which hopefully should give me some options. But yeah, again, you know, if anyone's got suggestions for what puffers look good, I know that pea puffers apparently like heavily planted tanks, so that would be nice because I really enjoyed planting the tanks up. But yeah, puffer tank is going to be the next bigger project. I'm toying with the idea of setting up a better tank. I think the only thing that puts me off is the fact I'd have to use RO water, but if it's a small tank, I can just buy some big containers and fill it with RO from a local shop, which is only 15 minutes away, and they do RO water at a fairly reasonable price. So I think I might get a nice better tank for the hallway or possibly the kitchen, if my wife will let me, because I think that'd be nice. Okay, so I've got quite a bit of this in now. I'll show you in a second what I've done, and then you can say, yep, that looks all right, or no, you're not spacing it well enough, or you've got too much space. But yeah, this Guyana is certainly a bit of a fiddly one. So Ryan, this tank here is a Juwel Rio 240. I believe it's the older version. They've got a newer version of the same tank, and the cabinet comes out a bit further towards the edges. But this tank has actually never been used and never had fish in it. I bought it from a lady who bought it, and it just sat in her hallway for 2 years. And then she never used it, so she put it away. And then she put it up on Facebook last year, and I went and snapped it up. There's a couple of little scratches on the glass just from probably me actually doing stuff, but other than that, it's literally immaculate. So this is a 240 litre. It's 120 centimetres long. I can't remember exactly what the width and height are, but I'll tell you just a second. It's 50, just over 50 centimetres tall, and then 40 centimetres back. So it's not really as deep this way as you would get in a scaping tank, but that would be my next project. So the next thing I like to do is have one the same length, but that goes back further, so I've got that bigger sense of depth. I think I've done all right with the sense of depth for this, but that will be my next project, is to go that next step up, get some even better hanging lights from the ceiling, and a proper scaper tank like the I think they're the 1200p or whatever they're called. Anyway, I'm just going to bring this over here and just show you what I've done. So I've got the Guyana here. I might fit a few more little bits in. Let's move that line. And then I've got Rotala going to about here, and then mixed with the Rotala and this area here, I'm going to have the HR. I'm not going to let the HR grow too high. I'll probably keep it fairly well trimmed and then kind of blend it in with the Rotundifolia. And same on this side, I've got space here for the HR. This is Rotundifolia, and then I've got the Guyana here. And then the next thing I'll be doing is this front area. I've got a ton of crypts that are going to be going in between the rocks and the wood there, because hopefully that'll give them a bit of shade as well. Just check that camera's back in position all right. Yeah, that's not too bad. Okay, so yeah, let me just have a quick look. I can probably get a little bit more Rotala in there actually. Yeah, no worries, Ryan. So have you got a tank at the moment, Ryan? Right, just going to try and squeeze this one in here. There we go. So a bit just fell off. Right, okay, so next up is the crypt tray. So I've ripped the roots off as much as I could. This one came out of my tank, this huge great big one. But I've ripped all the roots off and just got them short. I was going to cut all of the leaves off. They will look sparse when you fill up to begin with, but it grows crazy. I made a mistake putting too much in the first try, it was unmanageable. I've probably done exactly the same, Delith, but I'll be happily maintaining it every week. So if I need to do some heavy trimming or even take a few bits out, I quite enjoy that aspect of it. So I don't mind if I put too much in. I would much rather have too much at the back and have to manage it a little bit than not have enough and it'd be really sparse. And especially with the fast growers, I wanted these fast growers in there to begin with to limit any algae problems, because I can always remove them and add some other bits and pieces in there once it gets more established, but that's the plan anyway. Right, so where are we going to put these crypts? There's a really nice space down here. It's going to be a pain in the bum getting it in there, but I'm going to try and wedge this in. Okay, that's gone in quite nicely actually. So that's just spilling over the front, and then I've got another nice space here. I just want them spilling over the rocks a little bit to give it a bit more texture. I am going to get eventually some, that's not working, moss put onto some of the wood as well. I just want to sort of not rush too much. I want to get everything else established first and then move into the mosses and things. Might just add a bit more soil over that afterwards. Yeah, with this tank, I didn't really know what I was doing with, so I'll just answer Joanna's question first. So the reason you rip the roots off is for two reasons, Joanna. Firstly, it makes it easier to plant because you haven't got all these massive roots dangling down. And secondly, it really promotes new root growth. So if you get them in there with this ripped off just to probably about a centimetre from the actual main part of the body of the plant, it's much easier to get them into that soil, and also it promotes new root growth by actually ripping those roots off. That's what I've read anyway. I'm hoping that's right, but if I'm wrong, someone please tell me. Yes, so let's carry on with these crypts. So I think I'm going to get one in here. Yeah, that looks nice. And then I might put this one, which I can't remember what it is, just down next to that, so we've got some different textures. Yeah, thanks, Delith. Okay. Okay, I'm going to wedge that in and just lean it forward a little bit. There we go. So that should be okay. Let's just take this bit of root out. Then I think this is just the crypts I have ripped off because they had a bit of, I fell down the stairs just before Christmas, and as you can see here, I cut my arm quite badly, and I wasn't able to do any maintenance on the tank for about 3 weeks. And it was fine for like the first 10 days, and all of a sudden I had a bit of BBA that came along, and some of it attached to the crypts in there. So those that were affected, I've just ripped these leaves off completely, and I'm just going to plant what I've cut off, and then the rootstock here, just in a little space under here. Might make it actually easier to plant. Let's just get in there a bit more. Hopefully that's in okay. That might float, I'm not sure, but we'll see. Just find this little space for this one, because this is a nice little one. It's just begging for a little tiny space. Maybe, I want a bigger one there, I think. I wonder if I can get it in this little gap in the rocks here. Okay, we'll see how that gets on. Okay, so we're about halfway through, I think, on the crypts. Now, this is going to be tricky. I'm hoping that it's got enough soil there. It's quite nice. I've got some really different types of, lots of different sizes, which is really nice. I'm going to get a bit more soil in there, I think. So yeah, there'll be all different sized leaves, short and tall. This is a lot shorter, this one. That's perfect, look at that. I'll show you again what I've done once I finish this section of the planting before I move on. Okay, let you come off. So this leaf just came off, but it's still got roots attached to it, so I'm going to get it wedged in there if I can. Actually no, it's broken. I won't bother with that one. Okay, then this big one is going to go over here. I was really toying with the idea of putting a tiger lily in. I didn't, because I think it will throw the scape out of balance. I don't know what you guys think, but I think, you know, looking from the front, I think if I was thinking maybe over there or down there, a tiger lily, but I think it would have just thrown the balance of the scape out. But yeah, I'd love to know what you think about that, because that is something I might potentially do in the future, but I didn't go for it because I was worried about that happening. There's another one falling out. I've got some more space here for some rotala, actually, probably once I've done this. So soil wise, I actually used about 22 litres of the Denelay Scape soil, which was basically 2.5 bags ish. So I got enough, you know. I wasn't quite sure. I used one 9 litre bag of tropical soil in there, and it wasn't really enough, to be honest. But again, you know, I was still really learning at that point. I'm still learning now, but I do feel I've got a much better grasp of what I need to do and what goes where. I kind of bunged the plants in everywhere with the other tank, and it worked out all right. I think I was really happy with how it looked. But yeah, let's get that in there. Okay, so that's the crypts almost done. Now, I'm going to show you from the front again, guys. I'd like honest feedback. If you think anything doesn't look right, if you think I should change anything, I would really appreciate that. Let's get this one in here. So there is some space in the area where the crypts are, but that's where the ones with no leaves are. Okay, so I'm going to give you a front view. So this is how we're looking at the front at the moment. I've got quite a few crypts. I think this one here I need to just wedge in a little bit more. I don't think that's quite in there enough, but the rest of them I think they look all right. They're all in the soil. I've got quite a few which are just, you can see under there, that's the one with no leaves on, which hopefully will bounce back quite well. Everyone seems to think they do. But yeah, if you think that looks okay, if you think, no, actually you need to adjust that, let me know what you think. There we go, back on track. Yeah, I'm just going to try and get this one here in. What was that one? Oh, that was the broken one. Okay, I think this needs to go a bit deeper. Or maybe just get some soil in with it, just to help it. I think what I do before I put the water in, I'm just going to get a little bit of extra soil in there. But I think it'll be okay because there's plenty of soil underneath that wood. Okay, so now the next bit, some of my favourite plants. This is definitely where I need some feedback. So 2 trident fern and 1 really nice bobitis. So one of the trident ferns is just loose, which you can see here. Here. And I'm thinking I might break it in half actually, because just going to break it in half at the rhizome. God, it's tough. There we go. So I've got 2 individual pieces now. So trident fern is an epiphyte plant. You don't plant it in the actual soil, you attach it to stone or you attach it to woods, and they feed through the water column in their rhizome and root area. If you plant this in the actual soil, this will rot and the whole thing will die. So it has to go like I'm going to do now. I'm just going to wedge it in there. Beautiful. So that's one of the tridents. I think I might get another one in here. I don't think I'm going to need glue on this because the wood is so lovely and kind of gnarled. I can wedge it into those spaces. So that's that one there. Now, question is, do you think I should just use this piece of wood and kind of wedge it in there, or do you think that's going to look naff? I think it's going to look naff myself. I don't think this wood's going to work if I just kind of do something like that. I think I should remove it. If they rot, they stick out this. Yeah, I had a couple of Java ferns from this one that I didn't do quite correctly, and yeah, they do stink, like really rotten smell. Right, I think I'm going to remove this from the wood because this wood doesn't really match the wood I've got at all. It's a nice piece of wood. I'll keep it. I'll just stick it in my supply. Yeah, I agree, Jelith. I'm going to rip this off carefully now. Oh, it's actually quite easy. Still got quite a lot of rock wool actually in there. So when you get your plants, often they'll come wrapped up in this rock wool stuff, and you should really remove as much of that as you can, because again, this is what I've read. If you've got too much on there, it gives off too much nutrients and you can get an algae outbreak. So just get as much as you can out. And I think again, I'm going to break this in half. Oh, there's a baby one here. That one was just coming off already. There's a perfect little space for this. Just down here, wedge that in, nice and tight. Okay. So I've broken that in half as well. A nice gap between the wood. Use the tongs to position it a bit better. I really like the epiphyte plants. I don't know why I always have. I've got some Anubias nana coming, as well as some other bits and pieces to get wedged in between the rocks where I've deliberately left some spaces. Where should I put this one? I think in that space down there. That looks nice. I think I maybe need something at the front here. Maybe wedged in there. So I'm going to take this one off as well. It's actually really lovely actually. It's really nicely put on. If my wood was a different type of wood, I think it would have been perfect, but I just don't think it's going to match my wood at all. Plus I can probably break it into a few portions this way. So I'll just show you what I'm doing. I'm just gently prising it off. And again, there's another small one here that's kind of attached itself. Okay. Again, I'm just going to try and remove a bit more of this rock wool. There's quite a lot on there. Whether that has less of an effect with epiphytes, I don't know. So I've got a really nice space under here. And then I'm not going to put too much over here because I kind of want the stems to grow up around the wood a little bit around here and see how that looks. If it doesn't work, I'll put some more epiphytes around the wood. I'll just show you what I mean. So this spindly bit here, I think would look quite nice with some of the stems maintained but growing up around it. And then I've got crypts that are planted actually down here that I haven't got leaves yet and just here. Rather than loads and loads of this bushiness, I think that might look quite nice, sort of coming round from the back then into this area. So I'm going to give that a try, but if it doesn't look right, I will put some trident fern or some something in there. So I've got one more bit of this. I think I might, you know what, I might put one bit in there like that until at least those plants grow out, or it will look really lopsided. And then one more piece. Let's see where's going to look nice. Is that not going to fit in there? I could pop it in there at least for now. Right, I'm going to give you guys a little look. So I'll move the light forward as well. Okay, so that's where we are from the front. I've got some trident fern and bulbitis on the wood. And then I've got loads of different crypts as well as this plant, which I can't remember what it is, at the front in 2 different places. And then move into the back. We've got Guyana. I think I might put a bit more Guyana in there. What do you think, Delith? Would you put some more there? I think I've got enough Rotala there. I think I've got enough Rotala there, bearing in mind I've got HR coming, and I've probably got a little more space for some Guyana just there as well. So I'll just put you back over here and I'll plant a few more of those stems in. Okay, where's my stem tray gone? Ah, here, with the wood on it. Right, so let's plant a few more of these, and then I think I'll probably be about there for today. It's gone quicker than I thought, actually. Hopefully I'm not talking too quickly. I used to be an intelligence analyst in the Air Force, and I used to have to daily brief people over live streams. So it's not really a big nerve-wracking event for me. Yeah, a few more bits, okay. But it's been quite a few years since I did it. But it's gone quite well. You know, it's nice having people that I know in the group to chat to. I think if it was just a total bunch of random strangers, like, you know, when George does it, George Farmer or when MD Fish Tanks, they've got a real natural way about doing it. It's something I really enjoy. I like engaging with people. I like talking. I talk too much probably. And it's something I intend on doing regularly if I can, with maintenance, and if I learn something new, to share it with people who are starting out like me. There's a lot of people that know a lot more than I do, but maybe if they watch my streams they can bring a bit of that to what I'm trying to do, because I want to make sure people, I think one thing I've learned more recently as well, and that's really when I started my Instagram, is I think too many people are creating these tanks trying to impress everyone else, and then you kind of forget about the fact that you make this lovely tank for yourself and for your family, and you've put a lot of work into it, and you're getting stressed about the fact of whether other people really like it. And it's an easy trap to fall into, and I kind of started doing that when I joined Instagram. I joined Instagram only about 3 weeks ago, and I'm up to almost 500 followers, and I've had some lovely messages from people, which is great. And then George Farmer did a kind of just a easy chat session a few weeks ago, and he was talking about exactly that. People fall into the trap of pleasing other people before you please yourself, and just it becoming a vanity thing. And I think he's absolutely right, and it made me think a little bit more about my choices, and am I making the right choices? Am I planting the tank in the right way? Because the last thing I want to do is create a beautiful tank that's stunning to take pictures with, but I kind of lose the love for it because I've just forgotten about why I did it in the first place. I made this tank because my son's autistic. My wife unfortunately has been quite poorly for a few years now, and we don't get to go out as much as a lot of families. And to be able to sit here and enjoy this beautiful thing with these wonderful fish is something really special, and I want to make sure I never lose that. I also enjoy sharing it, and when you get, you know, positive comments, that's fantastic. But my main aim is to make sure that my family enjoy this, and that I keep enjoying the hobby and I keep learning more. And you know, I might keep this tank for a year and then upgrade, or I might keep this tank for a year and just rescape it. But I just want to make sure that I do it for the right reasons. And I think looking at Instagram, there's some amazing scopers out there who are doing an amazing job, but there's also quite a few people who I think literally just posting to get likes and followers, and I don't want to be that person. I want to be the person that just enjoys the hobby and shares it with people rather than shares it to get notoriety. Having some feedback is great, but it's important to love your tank. Yeah, I agree. I don't think I really appreciated just how much I love this tank until it's almost time to say goodbye to it, which is a shame really. But you know, I have a lot of stress in my life, but every night I'm down here 2, 3, 4 in the morning, and I just take a minute and I sit just on this little arm of the chair and have a little chat with the fish, and I look round. And I posted on the group yesterday about how the tank first started out compared to how it is now, and it's come a long way. And it's a great tank, and I love it. And it's, you know, it doesn't owe me anything, and I'm glad I've been able to bring a little bit of that tank into this tank. The last thing that is going to come across, which is maybe going to be my trademark, I've got a no fishing sign, which my son insisted we have. So that's going to come in and pop it in somewhere where he wants it. And that will be something that I think will move across every time I do an upgrade. That little sign will come across with us. Stocking wise, the fish aren't going to go in for about 2 weeks, I think. I want to make sure these plants have got time to take root. I want to make sure I get the CO2 right, because I've never used CO2 before. You know, I don't want to poison the fish, for God's sake. But I've got in here 11 Harlequin rasboras. I've got 6 panda cories. I've got 1 young bristlenose. It's only about 4 or 5 months old, but it's growing really quickly actually. I've got 2 dwarf gourami and 2 honey gourami, and then probably about 20 or 30 shrimp, which are going to be a nightmare to catch, but hey ho. So once this has been running for 2 weeks, I'm going to take the media from that filter, put it into the new Oase filter, and then bring the fish across as well, and then I'll shut this tank down, and that will go in the shed until it's safe to take that to my mum's and get it set up for her. Additional stock, I'm not going to put loads more in. I want to take my panda cory group up to probably about 10, and I would really like to get a nice school of Galaxy rasboras, or I think they're Celestial Pearl Danios, because I think they'll go really nicely with what I've got. As I said, I've got more plants arriving for this tomorrow. I will just see if I can work out what they are. Just give me 1 second and I'll read out what they are. Okay, so I've got some Ratalia atrar coming. I've also got some Amania seneglenensis and some Proserpinica palustris. I have looked up those, but I cannot for the life of me remember what they are now. Use boss trap for the shrimp, easier to catch. Oh yeah, definitely. So just like a Coke bottle with some shrimp food inside it, that's probably what I will do. I'm going to get a bigger net because I've only got a tiny little net for getting rid of cuttings at the moment. But I'm going to take the Hardscape out and take the plants out, so there's just water in there, which should make it a bit easier as well, and hopefully not freak them out too much. Okay, so yeah, I'll do an update video when I plant the extra plants, and I'll probably do an update video once every, maybe even once every couple of weeks, and I'm going to take pictures very regularly. I've got a spot marked out on the carpet with some tape, and I'm going to take a picture from exactly the same position. I'll try to do it every day for the next month, and then we can see how the growth is going. I'll probably be asking tons of questions about how much fertiliser I should be using, and especially how to set up the plant 3.0, because I don't want to give it too much light and have a horrible algae outbreak. But I think I'm about there for the moment. If anyone can think of anything I've missed or I would change, I'll give you one more view of the tank from the front. So this is how we're looking. I think it looks all right. We've got plenty of greenery in there to start with, and then again looking from the top to the back, we've got the Guyana and the HRA, and there's more, sorry, the Guyana and the rotundifolia, and there's HRA going in there tomorrow along with a few other mid-ground plants. So I've left some spaces kind of, I don't know if you can see, just down in there, under there and in there for the plants coming tomorrow, because they were classed as mid-ground plants. So there we go. Right, so I think I will wrap that up. What time is it? So yeah, we've been going about an hour. It's quicker than I thought, so that's good. Need more stems. There's loads of stems in the Carl, but they're actually all young and short stems. I mean, all the Guyana is going to be stem plants because it's the tropical 1-2 grow. They're tiny. I'll just bring one up to the camera and show you. They're really, really young juvenile plants. I mean, if I pull one off, I don't know how well you can see this. I'll just wait for the camera to... That's one individual stem, but that will grow quite considerably from where it is. I'll have a look at that, Colin. Thank you very much. So yeah, there's actually, you know, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I could probably put one in there actually. Just a nice little space there. Okay, so there's 11 lots of Guyana there. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 12 lots of rotundifolia. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10. 11 lots of rotundifolia, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11 lots of Guyana. So there's quite a few stems in there. I think because they're short and individual ones, and especially the 1-2 grow, because they're such tiny plants, it doesn't look like a lot, but they should grow quite quickly, especially with the CO2 and the light we've got going in there. And then we've got all these crypts in, which should do quite well. Hopefully they won't melt. If they do, I'll just chop all the leaves off and let them grow back. And then yeah, once it's a bit more established, I'm going to get some moss on maybe some of these edges along here. I'm going to get, oh, I've realised we have forgotten one thing. Just very quickly, it shouldn't take long. Where has it gone? Where is it? Ah. One thing I've forgotten is I've got 2 pots of Monte Carlo, and I'm just going to super glue a little bit of this onto some of those rocks near the path. Hopefully it will take. The last time I tried it, it didn't do very well, but granted that wasn't using a high-tech setup, so I'm hoping with the extra light that will help. I've got some super glue gel, which is aquarium safe, as long as it's cyanoacrylate, I think it's called. You can use it in your tank. And I'm just going to have a little play, and then I'll show you before I stick it down to see if you guys agree. I'm thinking something like this, and I'll keep it quite compact. I don't want it to go too mental. Now, if you don't think this works, I would really appreciate honesty here, because this is one area where I wasn't quite sure, but this is the sort of thing I had in my head with it. Okay. So, I haven't glued this down yet. I've just placed it. This is what I've done with the Monte Carlo. I just want a bit of texture around the edge of that pathway to break it up a bit. Can you guys let me know if you think that looks okay, or would you put it somewhere else? I might get some more for these rocks at some point, but I want to leave them for the moment because they're probably going to get covered in diatoms, and once diatoms break down, then I will put some more bits on there. So if you could let me know just quickly, do you think that looks okay and shall I glue it down, or do you think no, actually it doesn't look right? Because I'd really like feedback on that quickly, and then I'll glue those down quickly and then I'll call it a day, I think. So what's the thinking, guys? Okay, if no one says anything, I'm just going to start gluing. I like it, but only if it's kept neat. Yeah, it will be kept nice and compact. I want a nice, thick, very short growth of it, Colin. I don't want it to just grow all wispy and all over the place. It needs to be, I mean, if this was a real pathway, add a bit more to the front left. Okay, do you mean under these crypt leaves, Krishna? Because I can pinch a bit of this one from here and just spread that a bit more thinly. Because it should spread along that quite well. And then maybe just get a bit in there. Yeah, I think that does look better. Okay, cool, thank you guys. Right, I'm just going to get this glued down and then I will wrap up. Thank you everyone who's watched. I've never done a live stream like this before. It's something very new to me. I've really enjoyed it though. You know, I like sharing what I do with people, and it's such a nice bunch of people on the forum, or on the page rather. It's nice to be able to share how far I've come, because although I'm still new and I've only been doing this 6 or 7 months, like I said, I've put a lot of hours of research in. I've spoken to lots of people. I've tried to make the right choices with plants and equipment, and hopefully that will pay off as this scape grows. Okay, just put a little bit of dab on there. It's quite nice actually, just hanging over the edge a tiny bit. There we go, and I even managed to get no super glue on my hands, so that's a good result. Where did I put the lid? Where did I put the lid? Did anyone see where I put the lid? What have I done with it? I'm sure I put the lid down somewhere. Oh, sorry, I'll find the lid in a minute. Okay, right. So I'll give you one more look. So that's where we are. I'm going to get water in it in a minute. God, there's fumes from that glue, blimey. The plants won't last long without water, Dave. I'm going to give it a good spray down now because it's not taken that long to plant. So they've been, before I planted them, everything was covered top and bottom with very, very wet kitchen towel to keep it all nice and moist. You don't want to let your plants dry out too much. Some plants more than others can be quite badly affected by it. So I think epiphyte plants are quite bad for drying out if I remember rightly. So I'm going to give it a really good spray down now. It's only going to be probably 20 minutes till I fill the tank. But yeah, when you're prepping your plants, keep them covered. When you're planting, if it takes, you know, if you're planting a lot more than this, or if you're using lots more 1-2 grow than I've used, which are the little pots, you know, for example, this is the floating plant. Each one of those is an individual plant. So if you're using all 1-2 grow plants, it's going to take you a lot longer than it's taken me because I had quite a lot of pots, which wasn't by choice. You don't want to let these dry out because the last thing you want to do is, after all the money you've spent and the time you've made, is your plants die because you haven't kept them wet. So I probably should have sprayed it down halfway through, which is what I intended to do, but I completely forgot. So I appreciate that question, Dave, because it's reminded me to squirt it all down. So, right, I think I'll wrap it up because I need to get water in the tank now. Honestly, it's been, I've enjoyed it, it's been fun, it's been a real privilege being allowed to do it on the Planted Tank Keeping UK group. I've appreciated the questions and the feedback. I think there's probably more I can do. As I said, I've got more plants coming, but I will update you with all of that. And hopefully you can kind of see this tank as it matures and grows in and the fish come across over the next sort of 2 or 3 weeks. So I'll say goodbye for now. I kind of need to think of a catchphrase really, because everyone else seems to have one. You know, George has got to keep on scaping, etc. So maybe for the next video I will try and think of some sort of classy catchphrase that's not too cheesy. But for now I'll say thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed escaping, because I really did, and I will update you all soon with how it's going. So thank you very much everyone, I really appreciate your time. Feel free to share it if you want to. Feel free to PM me if you've got any questions or suggestions, or anything you think I maybe could have improved, because I'm still learning. So if you think I've done something wrong but you maybe didn't want to write it in there because you thought you'd embarrass me, honestly, I won't be embarrassed. I'm learning and I'm going to take things in if people have got better ways of doing it. So I'll say again, thank you very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. Hopefully I can do another one soon. Maybe when I do the first big trim of all the plants and some maintenance, I'll do another live stream if the guys at Planted Tank Keeping want me. And we can do an update on how things are looking as well. So thank you very much everyone. I will speak to you all soon in chat, I'm sure, and you'll take care of yourselves. Keep your family safe, because it's a bit rubbish out there at the moment, and I'll speak to you soon. Thanks very much guys.